Hi there, friends. Today I want to focus on inversions. I'll walk you through this 15-minute inversion set. We're going to focus on building upper body strength and circulation in our brain and upper body. Go ahead and stand at the top of your mat in mountain pose, firmly rooting in all the edges of your feet. Picturing your crown stretching to the sky, tucking your tailbone and tightening your belly, lowering down to the mat and grabbing your toes. Go ahead and pull down, bend your elbows, pull that torso as close to your thighs as possible, letting your head hang, keeping the weight evenly in your feet, mostly in your heels. Just let that tailbone stretch to the sky. Try to straighten those legs. Breathe deeply here. You can let your head hang and sway back and forth, folding your arms. And vertebra by vertebra, lift up, reaching towards the sky. Just breathe for a moment. Then we're gonna dive down to the mat, hands rooting, stepping back into downward facing dog. Pedal out those legs. Focus on keeping the weight in your hands, pressing down evenly with the knuckles, and pushing that tailbone up to the sky, straightening the torso, letting your head hang, breathing deeply. Pushing the heels towards the mat, trying to straighten the legs as much as you can, but focusing on pressing with the hands and the tailbone reaching for the sky. Good job. We're going to step forward and really start warming up the arms. Keep the weight in your right leg and lift the left. And start jumping up, keeping all the weight in your hands as if you're going to go into a full handstand. Now we'll switch to the other leg. And just hop a few times, warming up those muscles. Good. Now we'll go back to downward facing dog, pedaling those legs, pressing through the hands, just breathing. Reaching the tailbone towards the sky. All right, now we're gonna heat up the arms some more. Let's lower down to our elbows. Clasp your hands together. We'll go into this dolphin pose. Make sure the weight is in your forearms and the balls of your feet. Make sure your spine is straight, even if you have to bend your knees. You can also just keep your hands flat if that's easier. And use your hands to press down into your mat. Step as close to your elbows as you can. And then we're going to try a scorpion pose. So just work your way, switching legs and jumping up until you can gain your balance and strength in your arms. Until then, you can use a wall for support, like I'm doing here. And then practice on your balance from there. If you have access to sand or a beach, it's much easier to kind of shimmy your forearms into the sands and find your balance without wall support that way. We can also do a headstand, holding the crown of your head in your palms, keeping the weight in your elbows and forearms. I just kicked a piece of grass into my hair. And just work your way to find your balance until you don't need the wall support. Then lower carefully back into dolphin pose, and we'll lift up to our hands, raising our elbows off the mat into another downward facing dog. We can throw in a quick plank pose and add a push-up if you're feeling brave. The breath is the most important part, more than the poses. Focusing on the breath and comfort in these poses is the yoga. It's not about being flexible or strong or perfect. It's about awareness, and breath is the foundation. Now we're going to balance on our hands, putting our knees in the nook of our armpit, on the back of our arms on our triceps, and just transferring the weight to the knees until you can lift your feet up into the air. Just try to hold it there as long as you can, balance. And then we'll try a variation with the right knee on the left tricep for side crow. Breathing here as long as possible, setting the feet down, then vertebra by vertebra will raise back up into a mountain pose, reaching up towards the sky, tucking that tailbone, rooting into our feet. We'll do a little spin and do it all again on the other side. Forward fold, plant your hands on the mat, rest your torso on your thighs. Even if you need to bend your legs, let your head hang. You can cross your arms here. Breathe deeply. Try to straighten those legs, but keep contact with your torso. Now we'll go ahead and do the crow pose on the other side, the left knee on the tricep, leaning forward, balancing on the hands. Good job. Now we'll rotate those wrists. And we'll rest on our forearms again, straightening our legs, keeping the weight in the balls of the feet and the forearms for dolphin pose. Breathing deeply, reaching the tailbone to the sky, pedaling out the legs if you need to. Keep your spine straight here, even if you need to bend your knees, and just work on pressing the heels towards the ground and straightening the legs. We'll raise alternating legs here, and then do a few jumps as if going into scorpion pose again. And then we'll land back into downward facing dog. Great job. Now we'll step closer to our hands and switch feet. and try to get into a handstand. This is also a good balance. Try to grab your ankle and just balance here. Breathing deeply. Trying to straighten that right leg towards the sky or keeping it perpendicular towards the ground, letting the head hang. Trying to straighten the standing leg. Now switch to standing on the right leg. Even though I'm doing the same side again. This pose is standing split. Ideally, your right leg will be rooted into the ground with the left leg reaching towards the sky. You can hold your ankle, your standing ankle, just let your head hang, or look forward and find a spot to help you balance. Just focus on that spot. Just do what you can. And then when you're ready, you can find some wall support for a full handstand. Or if it's within your practice, just balancing into a handstand. Good job. We'll bend our legs and sit lower to lying down. Keep the feet apart and rest the knees together. Then we'll do another inversion. The legs stretch up to the sky, lying on our back. Keep the tailbone tucked and the lower back pressed against the mat. This is fittingly called legs up the wall pose, so if you can find a wall for support, all the better. This pose is very restorative. We are letting the blood flow to our upper body. Next, we're sitting on our hands here for fish pose, keeping the weight on our elbows and forearms and pressing our torso up to arch the back, letting the head fall back. Now we can lift the hips into a reverse plank. Keep our whole body straight, the weight in our heels. Now we're gonna straighten our arms, sitting first to make sure we have a steady foundation. And then when we're ready, pushing the body up for a reverse plank, keeping the weight mostly in the palms of the hands, pressing down evenly with the knuckles and pushing with the heels, keeping the body straight, letting the head fall back if that feels good. You can also look towards your feet. Now we'll lie back down, raise our legs up, and pressing the arms into the mat, go ahead and let them fall over the head, touching the toes to the ground if you can for plow pose. Breathing very deeply here. You can bend your knees for ear pressure pose, keeping the knees by your ears. You can place your hands on your back for added support and to kind of coax your torso towards your feet. Now carefully with control, keeping your core tight, we'll lower back down to resting pose, corpse pose, and just let everything go. Breathe deeply here. You can rest here as long as you'd like. This completes our inversion set. I hope this was educational for you and you feel amazing. Namaste.